What if I told you that your entire life, your income, your attitude, your health, your relationships, your destiny could begin to change in just 21 days? Not by chance, not by luck, but by design. You see, life does not respond to need, it responds to desire, discipline, and decision. And the greatest tragedy I've seen, it's not that people aim too high and miss. It's that they aim too low and hit. Most people are not struggling because they're incapable. They're struggling because they're undisciplined in small things. And in life, small things become everything. Your thoughts become your words become your habits shape your identity, and identity is what writes your future. So the question is not, can 21 days change your life? The real question is, can you change who? You are becoming starting today, because if you can discipline your habits, if you can take responsibility, if you can show up when it's easier to quit, then 21 days from now, you won't just look different. You won't just feel different. You will be different. This is not about motivation. This is about transformation. And transformation begins with one brave decision. I will no longer be who I've been. So let's begin. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. A truth so simple, yet so powerful, it shook the ground I was standing on. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. That one realization that you are not rooted, not stuck, not permanently bound to the life you've allowed can flip the entire script. The only chains holding you back are the ones you refuse to acknowledge. So if we're going to talk about transformation, we've got to start by picking a fight. Not with your boss, not with the government, not with your past or your parents. No, the fight has to begin with that weaker version of yourself. The one you've let run the show far too long. For the first 3 days, your job is simple: declare war. But before you swing, you must see clearly what. That's why I say sit down in silence. Turn off the world. No music, no phone, no distractions. Just you, a pen, and some paper. It's time for honesty. Raw, unfiltered, uncomfortable honesty. Write a letter to the version of yourself that has settled. The one that makes excuses, the one that hits the snooze button and justifies mediocrity. That version of you that says, it's too late, I'm too tired, I'll start tomorrow. Be brutal. Call yourself out. You've got to expose the enemy that lives within. That old self that plays victim instead of taking responsibility. That version that talks big but delivers small. Pour it out. Name the habits that are killing your progress. The junk food you eat when no one's watching. The hours you waste scrolling through your phone instead of studying, working, building. The friends who keep you small. The entertainment that numbs your drive. The language you use that drips with limitation. Write it all down. When I was young and broke, I remember one evening sitting alone at my kitchen table. I had pennies in my pocket, dust in my bank account, and shame in my chest. I'd failed my family, failed my goals, and I knew it. That night, I wrote down everything about me that had to go. The laziness, the pride, the procrastination, the blaming, the fear. I called it my declaration of war. I was tired of being a joke to myself, and that's what I want for you. You've got to get tired of your own nonsense. Until you're sick of your excuses, you won't replace them with discipline. Until you despise your distractions, you won't destroy them. Once you've called out the enemy, the next move is to declare your decision. This is not a soft-spoken intention. This is not whispering in your head, maybe I'll do better. No. This is putting it in ink. I am done living below my potential. Say it out loud. Write it big. Post it on your mirror if you must. Because if it's not written, it's forgotten. And if it's not spoken, it's not real. You've got to make your voice louder than your doubt. This is how transformation begins, not with hype, not with motivation, but with a serious, deliberate decision, the kind that has weight, the kind that burns bridges to the old self and makes quitting no longer an option. During these first 3 days, I don't want you chasing goals. That comes later. I want you chasing clarity. Because when you see clearly who you've been and who you no longer wish to be, the rest of the path becomes easier to walk. You've got to realize that success isn't about talent, it's about subtraction. You don't add wealth to a life full of waste. You don't build discipline on a foundation of disorder. You clear out the junk. You kill the old habits. You silence the weak voice. That's what these days are for. And don't expect this to be easy. Change never is. That old version of you, it's stubborn, it's comfortable, it knows how to manipulate you. It'll whisper sweet lies like, smell last time won't hurt, or you've had a long day, take it easy, but you've got to interrupt that pattern. Catch it in the act. And remind yourself you are no longer that person. Not because you've achieved something yet, but because you've made a decision. The shift happens the moment you stop negotiating with average. Now, I'll give you a little test. Every morning for the next 3 days, I want you to reread that letter. Sit quietly and feel the disgust of what you've tolerated. Let it stir something inside you. Because real change doesn't come from inspiration, it comes from confrontation. Most people avoid that step. They hide behind busy schedules and empty affirmations, but not you. You're going to face it head on. The pain, the patterns, the lies, it all ends here. And you'll know you've done this right when you feel a kind of peace, not because your life has changed yet, but because your posture has. One last thing. Don't just write this for yourself. Write it for your future. For the version of you 5 years from now who's living the life you've only imagined. That version of you is counting on this moment. Not a flashy event, not a seminar, just these quiet few days where everything changes because you finally got serious, where you stopped hoping and started choosing, where you stopped drifting and started driving. So declare war, not because you hate yourself, but because you refuse to settle. Not because you're broken, but because you're built for more. And more begins now. Now that you've made the decision to draw the line. No more compromise. No more drifting. It's time to build the foundation. And make no mistake, you're building something. You've cleared the land, removed the weak timbers, called out the old structure that couldn't support the weight of success. Now you must lay down the brickwork that will carry your future. And that brickwork is called discipline. Let me tell you, discipline is not punishment. It's permission. It's the permission you give yourself to live a life of purpose. Most people run from discipline because they think it takes things away. But discipline is the only thing that gives you everything you've ever wanted. Wealth, respect, health, peace. And during days 4 through 6, you begin to master it. You start by crafting what I call your daily success routine. This is not something you figure out on the fly. You sit down and engineer it like a blueprint. What time do you wake up? What do the first 60 minutes of your day look like? What are you feeding your mind and body? Because if you leave it up to emotion or circumstance, you've already lost. Success doesn't visit the unprepared. You must structure your days so that even when motivation disappears, and it will, you're still moving in the right direction. I learned early on that if I didn't command my day would command me. I used to roll out of bed when I felt like it. Some days 8 a.m., some days 10. I thought freedom meant flexibility, but all it really did was make me a slave to my own inconsistency. The minute I set a wake-up time and honored it like a business appointment, my self-respect started to grow. Because every time you do what you said you would do, you cast a vote for the stronger version of yourself. So wake up on purpose. Start the day with silence or prayer. Then feed the mind. Read, study, learn something that stretches you. Get your body moving. It doesn't have to be a full workout. It just has to be movement with intent. And then write. Journal your thoughts, your wins, your focus. When you write, you clarify. When you clarify, you amplify. That's a routine. It's not flashy, it's not complicated, but it's powerful. Because success is not hidden in the big things. It's buried in the small things you repeat every day. Now, I want you to choose 3 non-negotiables. These are not habits you try to build. These are laws you live by. 3 things that you do every single day, rain or shine, tired or energized, busy or free. Maybe it's 15 minutes of reading. Maybe it's a walk after dinner. Maybe it's no phone for the first hour of the day. Whatever you choose, let it be a declaration that you control your life. And I mean that, control. Because most people live in reaction. Their alarm goes off and they hit snooze. Their day starts with chaos and they respond with excuses. But when you commit to non-negotiables, you build self-trust. And trust in yourself is the currency of transformation. When I first got serious about turning my life around, I made just 3 commitments. 1, read 15 pages of a good book every day. 2, no junk food during the week. 3, write down my goals every morning. Simple, but powerful. And let me tell you, there were days I didn't feel like it. Days I was tired. Days I was discouraged. Days when life got messy. But I did it anyway. And every time I honored those non-negotiables, my identity shifted. I stopped seeing myself as a talker and started becoming a doer. You want to know the real difference between the successful and the unsuccessful? It's not talent. It's not opportunity. It's discipline. The successful live by principle, not by emotion. They don't ask, do I feel like doing this? They ask, is this who I am? And when your actions line up with your standards, not your feelings, you begin to build something unshakable. So I want you to say this to yourself every day. I do what I said I would do, no matter how I feel. Say it out loud. Say it when it's dark and cold outside. Say it when no one's watching, because that's when character is built. In the dark, in the lonely moments, when the easy thing and the right thing are pulling in opposite directions. I remember walking home one night after working late. My body was exhausted, but I hadn't done my reading for the day. I could have let it slide. No one would have known, but I knew. So I stood under a streetlight with a paperback book and read 15 pages before I entered my house. Not for the information, but for the identity. Because when you keep your promises to yourself, you become a person worth trusting. This is where the real wealth begins. Not in the bank, but in your character. Because if you build discipline into your life, you can build anything. Businesses, relationships, financial freedom, they all sit on top of this one trait. Without it, nothing lasts. With it, everything becomes possible. So these next 3 days are not about how much you can do. They're about how consistent you can be. Don't chase intensity, chase identity. Be the kind of person who does what they say they will do. That's where freedom lives. That's where success is born. Discipline is not the goal, it's the bridge. And you're going to walk across it one solid, consistent step at a time. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Success is not only about what you do, it's about what you allow. It's not only what you build, but what you remove. A man can plant good seeds all year long, but if he never pulls the weeds, the harvest will suffer. That's why these next 3 days, 7 through 9, are all about cleaning house. Physically, mentally, emotionally, because a cluttered space reflects a cluttered mind, and a cluttered mind cannot make clear, powerful decisions. You've got to create an environment that supports the new life you're building. Now, I want you to look around your space. Your room, your car, your desk. What do you see? Does it speak of order or chaos? Intent or neglect? Because your outer world and too many people are trying to create a life of success while living in an environment that screams confusion and delay. When I first got serious about changing my life, one of the first things I did wasn't reading a book or going to a seminar. It was cleaning my apartment. I threw out old clothes I hadn't worn in years, cleared the stacks of mail, scrubbed every surface. Why? Because I knew I couldn't expect excellence in my results if I tolerated disorder in my surroundings. And as I cleaned, something strange happened. I started thinking clearer. I started feeling lighter. I started acting like a man with purpose. So, clean your space, not just once, but as a standard. Every object should have a home, and every space should breathe. Because when your environment is in order, your thoughts follow. If your desk is a mess, your focus is divided. If your closet is chaotic, your mornings begin with stress. It's not about being a perfectionist. It's about being intentional. If it doesn't serve your purpose, it doesn't belong. Let go of it. And that's not just about your physical space. Your mental environment needs just as much attention. I want you to take inventory of your digital life. Who are you following? What are you consuming? You cannot expect to build wealth and wisdom if your mind is constantly fed with negativity, gossip, and drama. Unfollow the noise. Mute the chaos. Some people say, it doesn't affect me. But let me tell you something. Everything affects you. Every word, every image, every opinion, it all has a price. And if you don't stand guard at the door of your mind, someone else will come in and decorate it with garbage. I had a friend once who was always sharing bad news, always complaining, always planting seeds of doubt. And for a long time, I let it slide. I thought I was being polite. But what I was really doing was sacrificing my clarity. One day, I made the decision to limit that interaction. Not out of anger, but out of respect for my future. Because every minute spent in the company of a low standard is a minute you've stolen from your highest potential. Protect your space. Your time is a vault. Guard the code. Start filling that space with something that builds you. I want you to start each morning listening to something that lifts you higher. A success audio, a speech, a lesson from someone who's walked the road ahead. You might think it's just 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes can rewire your direction. Years ago, I started listening to audio lessons during my commute. Those drives used to be filled with mindless music or random talk radio. But when I swapped that time for focused learning, something powerful happened. My car became a classroom. I arrived not just at a destination, but with a new idea, a new insight, a new belief. That's how you multiply time, by using it to shape who you're becoming. Look, if you live in an environment that is constantly shouting mediocrity, you will start to believe that mediocrity is normal. But if you wake up to cleanliness, clarity, and the sound of excellence being poured into your ears, you'll rise differently. You'll walk differently. You'll make decisions from a higher place, because what surrounds you eventually lives inside you. So make sure your surroundings are feeding the fire, not putting it out. And remember, wealth isn't just about what's in your bank account, it's about what's in your life. Wealth is order, wealth is clarity, wealth is peace of mind. And all of that begins by choosing your environment with care. So these 3 days, treat your space like sacred ground. Clear the mess, cancel the noise. Create a world that honors your future, not your past, because the environment you tolerate is the life you get. Clean it up. And watch how much more clearly you start to see your potential. Let the world outside reflect the vision inside. That's how you begin to build something great. Let's talk about the power of your mind. You see, what most people don't understand is that the greatest investment you'll ever make is in yourself. We've all heard the saying, work hard on your job, but harder on yourself. Well, that's not just a catchy phrase. It's a fundamental truth. What you believe about yourself, what you think about, and how you direct your focus every single day will determine not just your success, but the quality of your life. This is the time, days 10 through 12, to rewire your thinking, to break the chains of limiting beliefs, and to install the mindset that will carry you through every challenge you encounter. Now, let me tell you something that may sound simple, but is profoundly powerful. You become what you think about. Let me say that again. You become what you think about. And here's the catch. Most people don't realize they're thinking about the wrong things. They think about their past mistakes, their current challenges, their doubts, and their fears. But if you want to change your life, you have to begin with the power of thought. You have to take control of your mind. This is where affirmations come in. The world is full of negativity, full of messages telling you what you can't do, who you can't become, and how you're not good enough. But let me tell you something. The most important voice you'll ever hear is your own. So I want you to write down 10 affirmations that define the new you, the person who is stepping into their power, their potential, their greatness. And don't just write them down. Say them out loud. Twice a day, every day, speak them with conviction. I am successful. I am worthy of abundance. I am disciplined and committed. Speak these affirmations not just as words, but as declarations. Because what you declare is what you create. Words are powerful. Words are energy. And when you speak with belief, you're shaping the reality of your future. And here's a powerful truth. Your thoughts are either making you stronger or weaker. Every single thought you have is either propelling you forward or pulling you back. It's as simple as that. So I want you to start asking yourself a question every time a negative thought pops up. Is this thought making me stronger or weaker? If the thought is making you weaker, if it's making you feel small, incapable, or undeserving, then you need to challenge it. You have the power to choose what you focus on. You have the power to decide which thoughts you let in and which ones you send packing. If a thought isn't serving you, let it go. You can't afford to let weak thoughts linger in your mind. The path to success is built on strong, empowering thoughts. Now let's talk about reading. You've probably heard it before, but it's true. Leaders are readers. If you're not reading at least 10 pages of a personal development or success book every day, you're missing out on one of the greatest tools for growth. I remember when I first started reading personal development books, how the pages seemed to open up new worlds, new perspectives, new ways of thinking. And each page you read is like planting a seed. At first, it might seem like nothing is happening. But over time, those seeds begin to grow. They begin to change the way you see the world. They begin to shape your beliefs. They begin to form the foundation of a new mindset. Reading is not just about gaining knowledge. It's about changing the way you think. The more you read, the more you begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. The more you read, the more confident you become in your ability to navigate life's challenges. The more you read, the more you realize that you're capable of much more than you ever thought possible. And it's not just about reading anything. It's about reading books that challenge you, that stretch your thinking, that push you to grow. You've got to read books that inspire you to become the person you're meant to be. Now, I want you to understand this. The power of rewiring your thinking doesn't just come from reading books or saying affirmations. It comes from consistency. It comes from showing up every single day and doing the work. That's how your beliefs change. That's how your mindset evolves. It's about committing to the process of personal growth. You won't see the changes overnight, but trust me, over time, they will come. Your thinking will shift. Your beliefs will become stronger, and before you know it, you'll be living a life you once only dreamed of. And don't get me wrong, this isn't easy. It's not always comfortable. Rewiring your thinking means confronting the negative beliefs you've held for years, and that's not something most people are willing to do. But you're not like most people. You're different. You're choosing to take control of your life, to transform yourself, to create a new future, and that takes courage. It takes discipline. It takes the willingness to face your fears and doubts head on and say, I am stronger than these thoughts. I am better than this. That's what it means to rewire your thinking. So as you move through these 3 days, remember this. You are not the thoughts that have held you back. You are not the limiting beliefs that have kept you stuck. You are not the negative voices from your past. You are the creator of your thoughts. You are the architect of your mindset, and you have the power to design the life you want to live. It starts with your thoughts, your beliefs, your mindset. And every time you challenge a negative thought, every time you speak your affirmations with conviction, every time you pick up a book that stretches your mind, you're taking one more step towards the person you were always meant to be. The next few days will continue to build upon this foundation, but understand this, without rewiring your thinking, nothing else will matter. Your mind is the foundation upon which everything else rests. If your mind is not aligned with your goals, then all the action you take will be in vain. But if your mind is strong, if your beliefs are unshakable, then there is nothing that can stop you. So start today. Rewire your thinking, strengthen your beliefs, and watch how the world begins to shift in your favor. Let's talk about the secret to success. The small things. Everyone talks about success as though it's this massive achievement, this big elusive victory. And yes, there are big moments of success that we all dream about, but the truth is, success is built in the quiet, consistent moments. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. It's the tiny things that most people overlook, the small habits, the little wins that ultimately lead to extraordinary results. And if you truly want to transform your life, if you truly want to see big, lasting changes, You need to master the art of the micro. From days 13 through 15, we're going to focus on exactly this: how tiny habits, when practiced consistently, will eventually yield the biggest wins. You see, most people fail because they're looking for the big breakthroughs. They're waiting for the moment when everything changes. But in reality, everything changes in the small, everyday moments. That's where the real magic happens. If you can master the micro wins, you'll soon find yourself on the path to the massive wins. But it all starts with the little steps. Now here's the key. Tiny habits are the foundation of big success. You don't need to make dramatic changes overnight. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one go. What you need is consistency. You need to show up every single day, doing the little things that add up over time. Success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about tracking your habits and improving bit by bit, day by day. Now I want you to start tracking your daily habits. It doesn't have to be complicated. Use a simple habit tracker. This could be a piece of paper, an app, or a journal. But the goal is to track the habits that matter the most. The habits that are going to move you closer to your goals. Maybe it's waking up on time, or drinking more water, or doing 10 minutes of exercise every morning. Whatever it is, track it. Because tracking creates awareness. It helps you see where you're succeeding and where you might need to improve. It gives you the power to course correct and make adjustments along the way. But here's where most people get it wrong. They try to be perfect. They try to do everything right, and when they fall short, they get discouraged. But let me tell you something. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. It's about showing up day after day and doing the small things that matter. Every time you do something positive for yourself, no matter how small, you are winning. And every time you win, no matter how tiny the victory, you're building momentum. That momentum is what will carry you through the tough days, the days when motivation is low, the days when life tries to pull you off track. For example, let's say your goal is to stop hitting the snooze button every morning. It's a small habit, right? But how many times have you let that one simple action dictate your entire morning and even your entire day? You know how it goes. You hit snooze once, then twice, then before you know it, you're rushing out the door and already behind schedule. It sets the tone for the rest of the day. But when you choose to get up as soon as the alarm rings, that one decision sends a message to your mind. I am in control. I'm taking action. It's a small win, but it's powerful. And over time, that small win builds into a bigger win. It sets you up for success for the rest of the day. Or think about focus. Let's say you decide to focus on a task for 1 full hour, just 1 hour. It might seem small, but think about how hard it is for most people to stay focused for that long. The distractions are endless, and before you know it, they've wasted an hour scrolling through social media or watching pointless videos. But if you can stay focused for just 1 hour, you've won. You've accomplished something that most people never do. And the best part, you've built your discipline. You've trained your mind to focus. And that focus will translate into greater productivity, greater results, and bigger wins down the road. Then there's the habit of saying no. Saying no to junk food, to distractions, to the things that don't serve your goals. Saying no is one of the most powerful habits you can develop, because every time you say no to something that doesn't align with your vision for your life, you're saying yes to your future. You're saying yes to discipline. You're saying yes to growth. Now, that might be a small thing, but when you say no to junk food, you're building a healthy body. When you say no to distractions, you're building a focused mind. Every small no leads to a bigger yes, a yes to a better version of yourself. As you move through days 13 to 15, I want you to celebrate every small win. Celebrate the days when you wake up on time, when you stick to your routine, when you resist temptation. Celebrate the days when you feel like quitting but push through anyway. Those small wins are the key to your transformation. Every small victory is a building block that will eventually lead to a solid foundation of success. But here's the thing. Most people don't celebrate the small wins. They wait for the big moments. They think they have to accomplish something huge before they can be proud of themselves. But that's not how it works. If you wait for the big wins, you'll miss the hundreds of small wins along the way. And it's those small wins that will keep you motivated, that will keep you moving forward when the going gets tough. So, as you track your habits, as you celebrate your micro wins, remember this: success isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing what you can, when you can, and doing it consistently. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. It's about making small, smart decisions that compound over time. And when you master the art of the micro win, you'll realize that the big wins were never as far away as you thought. Stay consistent, keep tracking, and celebrate every small victory. Because in the end, those tiny habits, those little wins, will add up to the life you've always dreamed of. You want to transform your life, don't you? But transformation doesn't happen because of external factors. It doesn't happen because someone else is going to show up and change your circumstances. The truth is, transformation only happens when you take full responsibility for where you are right now and where you're going. The first step to truly changing your life, if you're ready for it, is eliminating excuses. And that begins by looking in the mirror and saying, "This is on me." You see, most people live their lives blaming their circumstances, their environment, their upbringing, or even other people. It's easy to point the finger and say, "It's because of them that I'm in this situation," or "If only I had a better opportunity, I'd be successful." But here's the hard truth. Excuses are the chains that hold you back. They are the reasons you're not moving forward. And until you eliminate them, you will always stay stuck. Now you might think, "But Jim, I've been through a lot. Things weren't fair. Life wasn't kind to me. I get it. Life is tough. Everyone faces challenges. Everyone experiences hardships. But what separates those who succeed from those who don't is how they respond to those challenges." Successful people don't sit around blaming their past or their circumstances. They take full responsibility. And the moment you make that shift in your thinking, when you stop blaming everything outside yourself, you'll start to see doors open. Because it's only when you stop playing the victim that you can become the victor. This brings us to days 16 to 18 of your transformation process. These days are all about eliminating excuses forever. You're going to shift from being a victim of your circumstances to being the creator of your future. And it starts with becoming aware of the excuses you've been making in your life. I want you to do something for me. Grab a pen and paper, and I want you to write down every excuse you've used this year. Take your time. Write down the reasons why you haven't reached your goals, why you haven't taken that next step. Write down the excuses you've told yourself about your job, your health, your relationships, your finances. Be brutally honest with yourself. Once you've written them all down, I want you to take that list, every single excuse, and burn it. Literally destroy it. Because that list represents everything that has held you back. It represents all the reasons why you haven't taken full responsibility for your life. It represents the story you've been telling yourself about why you can't succeed. But today, that story ends. Now, I know this might sound a bit dramatic, but sometimes it takes an extreme action to break the chains of old thinking. You're not going to move forward until you burn the excuses that have been holding you back. You don't need them anymore. They've served their purpose. They kept you safe in your comfort zone, but now it's time to break free. You're done with excuses, and once you destroy them, they are gone for good. Here's the next step. I want you to replace "why me" with "what must I now do?" This simple shift in thinking is the key to your success. Every time life throws you a curveball, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask yourself, "What must I now do to move forward?" This takes you from a mindset of victimhood to a mindset of power. When you take responsibility for your situation, you take control. You're no longer waiting for someone to rescue you. You're taking charge of your own life. It's like this. Imagine you're a ship on the ocean. There's a storm ahead and the waves are crashing. The old you would look at those waves and say, "Why me? Why do I always get stuck in these storms?" But the new you, the one who is committed to taking 100% responsibility, looks at those same waves and says, "What must I now do to navigate this storm?" You take the wheel and you steer your ship. You may not have control over the storm, but you have control over how you respond. And your response determines whether you survive or thrive. Taking full responsibility means you no longer wait for the perfect moment. You no longer wait for someone to give you permission. You no longer wait for the stars to align. You take ownership of your actions, your decisions, and your future. It's the day you graduate from being a child who blames the world to being an adult who takes control of their own destiny. And that day is today. I want you to know something. It's never too late to start taking responsibility. You don't have to wait until tomorrow. The moment you realize that everything in your life, your success, your failure, your health, your wealth, your relationships is in your hands, that is the moment your transformation begins. When you stop looking outside yourself for the answers and start looking inside, you tap into a power that is limitless. When you look at successful people, you don't see them making excuses. You see them overcoming obstacles. You see them looking at a challenge and saying, "This is on me. What must I now do to get through this?" They've learned the most important lesson in life. Success isn't about luck. It's about taking responsibility. When you take full responsibility, you empower yourself. You stop being a passive participant in your life, and you become the active creator of your destiny. You might be asking, "But what if I fail? What if I don't have what it takes?" Here's the truth. Failure is part of the process. Everyone who has ever achieved something great has failed along the way. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they respond to failure. Successful people take responsibility for their failures, learn from them, and move on. They don't dwell on the past. They don't sit around blaming their circumstances. They take full responsibility, and they keep going. So in the next 3 days, I want you to commit to taking 100% responsibility for your life. When you catch yourself blaming someone or something else, stop immediately. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, "What must I now do to move forward?" Write down your excuses burn the list, and free yourself from the chains of blame. You're no longer a victim. You're the captain of your ship, and it's time to steer yourself toward the life you want to create. Remember, the day you graduate to adulthood is the day you take full responsibility. That day is today. And the life you want, the life you've always dreamed of, is in your hands. Take control, eliminate excuses, and watch your world change. You've made it this far. You've been working on your mindset, your habits, your responsibilities. And now we arrive at perhaps one of the most crucial steps in your transformation: controlling your emotions and choosing the standards by which you live. Let me tell you, nothing will separate you more from mediocrity than mastering your emotions and choosing higher standards for your life. If you let your emotions dictate your decisions, you'll always be at the mercy of how you feel in any given moment. But if you take control of those emotions and align them with the higher values you've chosen, you'll start making choices that take you toward your success, not away from it. Emotions are powerful. They shape our behavior, influence our actions, and determine how we show up in the world. And let's be honest, we all experience negative emotions. Feelings of laziness, frustration, fear, and self-doubt, these are part of the human experience. But here's the critical lesson. Your emotions don't have to control you. You have the power to choose your response. Let me ask you, how often have you felt like skipping a workout or avoiding an important task because you didn't feel like it? It's easy to let your emotions take over in those moments, but what if, instead of following your feelings, you followed your values instead? Every time you feel lazy, frustrated, or tired, remind yourself, my feelings don't lead, my values do. This simple phrase has the power to change your entire approach to life. It shifts you from being reactive to being proactive. It reminds you that success is not about how you feel in the moment, but about what you are committed to achieving, regardless of how you feel. This brings us to a powerful practice. When you feel emotionally triggered, especially by things that used to break you, choose to respond differently. Reflect on one particular trigger, perhaps a person, a situation, or a memory that used to throw you off course emotionally. Maybe it's a tough conversation that used to leave you feeling angry, or a failure that made you feel like giving up. The old version of you would have been reactive, letting those emotions dictate your actions. But the new you, the version of yourself that is disciplined, strong, and focused, responds differently. Instead of allowing anger, frustration, or fear to control you, you pause, you breathe, you choose a better response. This is emotional mastery. This is discipline. And as you continue to practice this, you'll find that you become more resilient, more composed, and more in control of how you react to the world around you. Now let's talk about standards. Most people just live day to day, reacting to circumstances, getting through the motions. But if you want to elevate your life, if you want to create real success, you need to establish a set of unshakable standards that you live by every day. These are not suggestions, not things you might do if the mood strikes. These are non-negotiable standards that govern your behavior, your actions, and your mindset. Take a moment to reflect. What are your standards? What are the principles that guide your life, your decisions, and your actions? If you don't have a clear set of standards yet, it's time to define them. Write down a list of standards that you now live by. It could include things like, I always follow through on my commitments no matter how I feel. I take full responsibility for my actions and my success. I control my emotions and I respond with discipline. I invest in myself daily through reading, learning, and growing. I prioritize my health and well-being because without it, I have nothing. These are the standards you live by now, and these standards will drive you to success. They will keep you on course when you're tempted to give up. They will help you overcome obstacles, stay focused, and keep moving forward, no matter how you feel. The key to emotional mastery is understanding that your emotions will come and go, but your standards will remain. Your feelings might fluctuate, but your commitment to your values will keep you grounded. The moment you decide that your values are more important than your fleeting emotions, you begin to unlock the power to create the life you've always dreamed of. When you discipline your emotions, they no longer control you. You no longer allow moments of weakness to sabotage your progress. Instead, you respond to life with strength, clarity, and determination. And as you continue to choose your values over your emotions, you build a new foundation of success. You see, emotions can be like a storm, unpredictable and wild. But when you have clear standards, they act as your anchor, keeping you steady no matter what the world throws your way. When the storm of doubt, frustration, or fear comes, you don't get tossed around. You hold firm. You stick to your standards. You remind yourself that your emotions are just temporary, but your commitment to your goals is permanent. And don't forget this, it's not about being perfect. There will still be days when you feel like throwing in the towel, when emotions get the best of you. But the difference is, the more you practice emotional mastery and the more you align your actions with your standards, the less power those negative emotions will have over you. Over time, you'll find that you've developed a new way of living, a new way of responding to life. You'll become a person who chooses action over reaction, discipline over distractions, and standards over excuses. As you progress through this transformation process, remember that emotional mastery and strong standards are key components of success. Don't let the whims of your feelings dictate the course of your life. Let your values, your standards, and your unwavering discipline guide you to the life you're capable of creating. Discipline your emotions or they will use you. That's the truth. But when you take control of your emotions, you take control of your life. And that, my friend, is the key to creating lasting success. Now go forward and make your feelings work for you, not the other way around. Here we are, day 21 day. You've made it through the full 21-day transformation, and now it's time for the final and most powerful step in your journey, reinvention. This is where you step into the new you, the person you've worked tirelessly to create, the person who is no longer bound by the limitations of the past. You're no longer the same person you were 21 days ago. And that's something to be proud of. The process you've gone through, the changes you've made, the habits you've built, they've all been leading to this moment. But let me be clear. This is not the end, it's the beginning. This is where your true transformation begins to take shape. And to ensure that the person you've become sticks around for the long haul, you must understand that success is not a one-time event. It's who you become along the way. It's the habits you cultivate, the identity you create, and the legacy you leave behind. And today we're going to lock all of that in. So let's start with something powerful. Write a letter to your old self. Sit down in silence, take a deep breath, and reflect on the person you used to be. That version of you had dreams, yes, but they may have been buried beneath fear, excuses, and distractions. Write to that person, acknowledging the weaknesses, the mistakes, and the missed opportunities. Be brutally honest with yourself. Say goodbye to that old version, and then burn the letter. Burn the past. Let go of everything that no longer serves you. The regrets, the failures, the old excuses. Burn them all. This is your symbolic act of letting go, of stepping into the new version of you that you have been working on for the last 21 days. Once you've done that, it's time to set your next 21-day goal. The journey doesn't stop here. You've just created the foundation, but now you must continue to build on it. Success is a process, not a destination. It's who you are becoming every day. Set a new goal, something that will stretch you even further. It could be a new skill you want to master, a new habit you want to cement, or a new challenge you want to face. Whatever it is, make sure it's aligned with the new identity you've created. It should challenge you, but also be realistic enough that you can build on the momentum you've already gained. Remember, success doesn't happen overnight. It's not about the grand achievements or the big wins. It's about the consistent, small steps you take toward becoming the person you are meant to be. Every day is a new opportunity to improve, to get better, to move closer to your goals. This is a never-ending cycle of growth and reinvention. Your 21 days have laid the groundwork, but now it's your job to keep the momentum going. Set that next goal and commit to it with the same passion and discipline you've shown throughout this journey. And as you embark on this next phase, remind yourself of one simple, powerful truth. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of the best version of me. Let that be your mantra. Every day, remind yourself that the best version of you is not some distant ideal. It's you right now, making the decision to keep going, to keep improving, and to keep evolving. It's the person you're becoming with each new habit you form, each new skill you develop, and each new challenge you face. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. This is the key to growth. The journey will never be easy. Success is never a straight line, and life will always throw obstacles your way. But every obstacle is an opportunity for you to grow, to learn, and to improve. Don't look for shortcuts. Look for opportunities to become better. The more you focus on becoming a better version of yourself, the easier the challenges will seem. Because the better you become, the more you'll be equipped to handle whatever life throws at you. This is where the real magic happens. The moment you stop wishing for an easier life and start wishing for a better version of yourself, you unlock the true power of transformation. The goal isn't to avoid challenges or hardships. The goal is to become strong enough to handle them. The goal is to become the kind of person who doesn't back down in the face of adversity, but rather steps up to meet it head on. So, as you step into this new version of yourself, remember that this isn't just a 21-day process. It's a lifelong journey. The habits, routines, and mindsets you've cultivated in the past 3 weeks will continue to shape your future, but only if you keep nurturing them. You've built a strong foundation, but now you must continue to build on it. You must continue to grow, to stretch, and to challenge yourself. And as you move forward, keep this in mind. Success is not a one-time event. It's who you become, the person you are today, the habits you've developed, the mindset you've adopted. These will determine your future success. And the best part, you have the power to shape it. You have the power to choose who you want to be. And with every decision, every action, and every day, you are creating the person you are meant to be. So step into that new version of yourself. Own it, live it, and remember, this is just the beginning.